I was 16 and in my junior year of high school. My school day consisted of 9 periods, with 5th period being my lunch break. Immediately after, I had my astronomy class, which was held in one of the 2 basement classrooms. My high school was quite large, with 3 floors, but even that wasn't enough to accommodate all the classes offered. As a result, the school had built 2 additional classrooms in the basement. This basement area had a bit of a creepy vibe when it was empty, as it used to be a janitorial space that had been remodeled to resemble a typical hallway. Unlike the main floors, the basement classrooms lacked intercoms or loudspeakers for the morning announcements. Because of this, no regular classes were held down there. Instead, students referred to it as the chamber and often tried to get their classes scheduled there, as it was air-conditioned and the coursework was typically easier. That day, I had a quiz in astronomy and finished it quickly, as I found the subject matter quite straightforward. Afterwards, I texted a friend in the other basement classroom to meet me in the bathroom, as I was bored. As we were joking around, my friend checked his phone and said the school had gone into lockdown. Seeing an opportunity, we decided to sneak upstairs and explore the darkened hallways, figuring we could just explain that we hadn't heard the lockdown announcement in the basement. However, when we opened the basement door, we were surprised to find the hallways pitch black, with only the light from the lobby doors providing any illumination. As we ventured further, we spotted a man emerging from the darkness, and he did not appear to be a staff member. Deciding it was best not to confront him, we quickly retreated back to the bathroom to hide. In the corner stall, complete silence filled the room. There was no ventilation, no heaters, just the sound of me and JJ's breathing, and the occasional drip from the sink. Suddenly, the bathroom door opened, and light from the hallway poured in for a brief moment before the door shut, plunging the room into darkness once again. Me and JJ tried our best to control our breathing, the room so silent that we could hear someone walking over to our side of the bathroom. The person stopped and started breathing heavily, as if out of breath. JJ, in a whispered voice, suggested we crawl out through the other stalls, but even his whisper could be heard across the room. The heavy breathing outside the stall stopped, and the person tried pressing the stall door. I whispered, "Go, go," to JJ, and we both crawled under the sidewall to the next stall, and the next, finally making it out to the other side of the bathroom. The person was now banging furiously on the stall door. Me and JJ hopped up, opened the door, and as the light filled the room again, we saw the guy from upstairs in the corner. We pounded on the door to JJ's class, and the teacher let us in, locking the door behind us. JJ explained everything, mentioning a gun sticking out of the man's pocket, though I hadn't seen it. The sudden bang at the door made everyone jump, and we could see the man standing there trying the doorknob. After a few more angry bangs, he turned and walked back down the hallway. We sat in the classroom for over an hour, the teacher occasionally asking us questions, shaking his head. Eventually, someone from upstairs called the teacher, and he instructed us to file out of the building, where we were greeted by cops. Me and JJ did our best to describe the man, and one of the cops patted me on the back before we were sent home. After this incident, the school installed cameras and ramped up security, though the event never got any media attention, and we never found out if the police caught the guy. As a retired New Jersey police officer with 20 years on the force, the most disturbing call I ever received was for a school lockdown at a nearby middle school, which I'll omit the name of for legal reasons. It happened on a dark, stormy day. My car number was called in to respond to the lockdown, where a suspicious-looking man had been seen stepping out of a white van parked behind the school and entering through the back door near the boys' locker room. When I arrived at the school's back parking lot, the white van was there but empty, with all doors and the trunk locked. I entered through the red door leading to the gym hallway and locker rooms. The main lights were off, so I used my flashlight to navigate the dark halls. In the school lobby, a woman quietly told me to check the boys' locker room, but to be careful as the suspect might be armed. I called for backup, which was already on the way. Reaching the locker room hallway, I quietly pushed open the door. With no windows, it was completely dark except for my flashlight. There was a white noise from a vent, but I also heard faint scratching and thumping sounds from the other side of the lockers. Tense and scared, I held my flashlight and gun as I crept along the wall. Wherever I moved, the noises seemed to come from the opposite side. Suddenly, a loud slamming sound from the adjoining football team locker room made me jump. I realized there was no separating door, and the football lockers were much larger. Gathering my nerve, I finally shouted, "Police!" A muffled cry for help then came from somewhere in the room. When I found out the boy was trapped inside a locker, I felt sick to my stomach. Though I had heard the kid pounding on the locker door on the other side of the row, I told him I'd be right back and ran outside, calling for backup. But the white van was gone. My biggest mistake was not getting the license plate number first. I immediately told dispatch to be on the lookout for a suspicious white van, then ran back into the school and instructed the front office staff to end the school day and send someone with a key to the locker room. As I speculate, the man was quietly trying to get the 12-year-old boy into his van. The boy was bleeding on his arm from the man cutting him as he resisted. The van was spotted a week later in a 7-Eleven parking lot, where the man was arrested after being properly identified. When visiting Rowan University, I was staying at a Hampton Inn in New Jersey on my own, as my family couldn't come with me. After campus tours, I went to a nearby restaurant for a bite to eat, then returned to the hotel around 8 p.m., planning to go back to campus the next day. About an hour later, a strange alarm started blaring in my room, accompanied by a flashing white light from the ceiling. A looped message instructed all Hampton Inn guests to remain in their rooms. It was a lockdown, something I'd never experienced in a hotel before. The alarm eventually stopped, but the light and message kept repeating every 20 seconds or so. I turned on the TV for background noise as I got ready for bed, then shut off the lights and watched TV for half an hour before trying to sleep. The flashing light was still obnoxiously bright, hindering my ability to sleep. I was about to call the front desk when the phone rang. The person on the other end told me in a concerned voice to remain calm and walk out the door. I had the opportunity to ask her what was going on. She told me there was somebody in the room with me and I needed to get out immediately. I dropped the phone and instinctively started looking around. Part of me was curious to see if someone was actually in the room. I checked under the bed and in the empty bathroom, but no one was there. Then I noticed the closet door next to the bathroom was slightly cracked open. Through the crack, I could see a person's face. At first, it didn't register what I was seeing, but when the door slid shut, I freaked out and ran out of the room. The front desk staff showed me security footage from an hour earlier. It showed a sketchy-looking man walking the hallways, apparently looking for a specific room. When he got to my door, he used a card to open it. The authorities were called and they took the man, who was in his 40s and on the shorter side, out in handcuffs. As he passed me, he looked at me as if he recognized me.